right, the time is 7 o'clock. I'm going to call to order the regular meeting of the Lansing City Council for December 15th, 2025. Mr. Clerk, could you please do the roll?
Certainly. Councilmember Brown.
Present for the last time.
Councilmember Carter.
Here.
Councilmember Garza.
Here.
Councilmember Hussein.
Here.
Councilmember Jackson.
Present.
Councilmember Cost.
Here.
Councilmember Pelivanoglu.
Present.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Present.
There are 8 members present, a quorum, and we are to the meditation and pledge of allegiance.
Okay, do we want to remember anyone tonight? I will jump in here first. If we can keep the Jewish community in Australia in our thoughts from the mass shooting there that claimed many lives, and the shooting at Brown University as well, I would appreciate it. Mr. Mayor, did you have?
Same too. I appreciate that. And yeah, in all of our prayers. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yep. Councilman Garza.
Thank you, Council President. I would just like to take a moment to keep in our thoughts Mr. Mike Mataloni. He was an attorney here in Ingham County. He passed away. Friend of mine, friend of a lot of people I know, and he will be deeply missed.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no one else, can we please rise? Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You have for approval the council proceedings of December 8th.
Vice President Carter.
I'll make a motion to approve the December 8th minutes as presented.
Okay, do we have any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
And we are to special ceremonies and presentations. We have first the appointment of Melissa White to the South Martin Luther King Corridor Improvement Authority.
Councilmember Garza.
All right, thank you, President Cost. Hey, Melissa, come on down. Anybody that wants to support her, are more welcome to come down as well. So today we have an appointment for Melissa White as a resident member of the South Martin Luther King Jr. Corridor Improvement Authority. Term expired July 30th, 2029. Let's see here. Melissa White, she would be a resident member. The mayor's office has vetted this application and has confirmed that meets the requirements under the city charter. We also met in the Development and Planning Committee on December 10th, 2025, where we discussed this appointment and the needs of the South Martin Luther King Corridor. Melissa brings over 10 years of business ownership experience, has invested in local property on the south side of 820 West Miller Road, and has shown a real commitment to community involvement. She understands the challenges along the corridor, the mix of commercial, industrial, and residential uses, the lack of foundational investment, and how tough it can be for small businesses with limited resources. She's focused on improving communication, providing technical support, and building partnerships with groups like MDOT, CATA, and the county to move things forward, while also pushing for healthy food options, stronger business foundations, and more community involvement. With that, the resolution before us is to confirm the appointment of Melissa White as a resident member of the South Lansing Martin Luther King Jr. Corridor Improvement Authority Board of Directors, July 30th to 2029. With that, I move the resolution.
All right, we have proper motion in place. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Congratulations.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of South Martin Luther King Jr.
South Martin Luther King Jr.
Boulevard Corridor Improvement Authority
Boulevard Corridor Improvement Authority
Board of Directors
member
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
We're to the appointment of Jeffrey Hank to the Michigan Avenue Corridor Improvement.
Jeff, if you want to come on down, and then Councilman Garza.
All right, tonight we have an appointment for the Michigan Avenue Corridor Improvement Authority. The mayor's recommended Jeffrey Hank to serve as a business owner member with a term ending June 30th, 2029. The mayor's office has vetted this application and confirmed it meets the qualifications required by the city charter. Mr. Hank is a business owner who spoke up about the current conditions along Michigan Avenue, including the challenges facing retail due to economic changes and online competition. He stated that he likes the direction the corridor is moving and would like to keep that momentum going, while continuing to push for balanced mixed use of types, better conditions for local and small businesses and startups. He's owned 2 Michigan Avenue properties for approximately 8 years. One of those buildings built in the 1950s, plumbing masonry updates, planned for a future law office. And with that, I would move the resolution.
Okay, we have a proper motion in place. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Congratulations.
Cut off the last paragraph.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
that I will faithfully discharge the duties
that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of
of the office of
Michigan Avenue Corridor Improvement Authority
Michigan Avenue Corridor Improvement Authority
Board of Directors member
Board of Directors member
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
All right.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
We're to the appointment of Shanwar Manowar to the LDFA Board.
Shay's already coming up. Councilmember Garza.
All right, thank you. So he mentioned he goes by Shay, so I don't mess up his name too bad. So appreciate you being here today. So the Development Finance Authority Board, term to expire June 30th, 2028. The mayor's recommended Shay to serve as a city Lansing member with a term ending June 30th, 2028. Mayor's office vetted the application and confirmed it meets qualifications required by the city charter. Mr. Manowar is a Southside resident, Ward 2, and has expressed interest in helping address under representation on this board. He brings experience in economic development, entrepreneurship, and stakeholder engagement going back to 2011. He currently works for the Lansing Economic Development Corporation as a development finance specialist, a role he joined last year, giving him practical experience, financing tools, and redevelopment projects. So with that, I would move the resolution.
Okay, proper motion in place. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Congratulations.
I do solemnly swear
That I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of
of the office of
Local Development Finance Authority Board Member
Local Development Finance Authority Board Member
according to the best of my ability.
according to best of my ability.
All right,
Thank you.
congratulations. And the council is to comments by council members and the clerk.
Okay, council member comments. I am going to go ahead and start this off. I want to thank each and every one of you and our staff and the city attorney's office and the clerk's office, the mayor's office, and the folks in our audience that come for a wonderful year. Personally, as president, and want to wish everyone a very happy holiday and New Year. I appreciate the confidence that this body put in me this year to be president of City Council. It's been an honor, truly an honor and a humbling experience. And I appreciate all of you, so thank you. Vice President Carter.
I will also agree with the sentiments that you just shared, President Cos. Thank you to this body for this year as Vice President of City Council. Thank you to the OCA office, the clerk's office, and the mayor's office for entrusting me in this role for this year. And I would also be remiss if I did not state it has been a pleasure to work with both Councilmember Jackson and Councilmember Brown, as this is your last official meeting as Lansing City Council members. So thank you for your service, your dedication, and your commitment to our city.
Councilmember Hussein.
Yeah, I'd echo all of that. Also, I wanted to announce, just one announcement, one comment. The Churchill Downs Community Association is actually having their annual holiday party tomorrow. So that's actually at 6:30 p.m. at Elfrida Schmidt Southside Community Center. It starts at 6:30 p.m. If you've been in the past, you know that there's always some great food, great music. It's just a really, really good celebration of that neighborhood, kind of the interconnectedness of the folks in that community. And so certainly encourage folks to get out tomorrow again, 6:30 p.m. And then secondly, I wanted to, since I didn't have an opportunity to talk about Melissa White, and James Denning, since they're both in the audience. That was an incredibly exciting appointment for me. Miss White is actually invested in South Lansing by way of being a resident first. Second, her and her husband are both emerging developers, and they decided to take on a project in South Lansing that nobody else wanted to take on, and that's the very difficult project of rehabilitating and moving forward the property at 820 West Miller. And then if that wasn't enough, she now wants to be a part of this corridor authority as a resident member to really help facilitate, I think, the resurgence of one of, if not the most important, north-southbound corridor in the city of Lansing. And so we really appreciate both Melissa White and James. Since you're there, we appreciate everything you're doing as well, man. We see you and we appreciate you. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And if I could add to my comment, I do apologize. I want to sincerely thank Brian for your service to this city. I miss sitting next to you and our conversations that we had. I sincerely mean this when I say you're one of the nicest people that I've ever met in my life. And I'll be forever grateful for many moments where something didn't affect you personally, but it affected me personally, and I could see tears in your eyes, real tears. Your compassion feeds my compassion. So I appreciate your service to this body, and whatever you do next, I'm sure it's going to be something running. Please, the running photos are great on Facebook. That's how I keep up with you. And then Jeff, I appreciate your service to the city as well. Your commitment to the community, speaking for those that don't have a voice, seeing you at a lot of the different events out in the public, being present, talking to people, asking me to go ahead and take a photo of something because you didn't have your phone on you. Let's Community Center, if I remember correctly. You've always got a good sense of humor. I don't know what your plans are for next, but I wish you all the luck in the world. Is there any more council member comments? Councilmember Brown.
Thank you all. It's been a pleasure to serve, and the residents of Lansing, the administration. I've learned so much from everyone, as well as the opportunity, the most greatest privilege to serve our community and the constituency. So I just want to say thank you. It's been a beautiful time. I've learned, I've grown, I've made mistakes, and we've done great work. And so I'm so appreciative for that. So thank you.
Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you. I didn't plan anything. I wasn't going to necessarily speak, but thank you all to all my colleagues, present and past. I learned a lot from everyone here. I learned a lot from everyone there. There's so many things that I never thought I would have to dabble in that we ended up dabbling in and learning about. I wanted to keep it all positive and peachy, but the only warning I would put out is to beware of the powers in this city who think that they are above the power of the people, because the people are what and who controls us and our actions, but I think sometimes it gets lost based on the system that we work in and the people that we deal with. So just keep vigilant on that to all my current and future council people, because there are powers out there that believe they are above the people, and I think that we need to fight to make sure that the people keep the power.
Thank you. Okay, no further comments.
Thank you. We are to community event announcements. Anyone in the audience who has a community event, we'll give you 1 minute to tell us the details.
So, got a couple events coming up later this week and probably next week, depending on who you ask, based on their calendar, how days of the week are positioned. But On Sunday, December 21st, there will be Christmas caroling at the Michigan State Capitol, which is actually just around the block from here. That is from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Again, Sunday, December 21st. And on that same day, just after that, from 7 to 9 p.m. will be Nourishing Neighbors at the, which is for Sleepwalker Spirits and Ale at 1101 South Washington Avenue from 7 to 9 p.m., where we'll enjoy delicious pizza. For the Lansing First Presbyterian, $25 suggested per person. Also, all RSVPs for the Ingham County Democratic Party event on Wednesday at 5:30 at the Ingham County Health Building on Jolly and Cedar. Those RSVPs are now closed and sold out, so please do not fill out anything else. But anyone who has filled it out, make sure you're there at least on time for the event.
Thank you. Any other community event announcements? All right, seeing none, we are to the close of the registration for public comment on legislative matters. Legislative matters includes the public hearing on the Parks and Rec Master Plan, as well as items 7 through 16 on the printed council agenda, and items 7 through 20, which does include the ordinances for passage. It's also, if you are here on the show cause hearing, if you're the owner of 810 Beulah, please sign in on the green sheet. Anyone wishing to speak on legislative matters, that's the blue sheet in the back. We'll give you another minute to sign in. And with that, we are to the mayor's comments.
Now, Mr. Mayor, do you want to have comments after this week of Michigan football? Are you up to it?
I have no comment.
I got one more shot at you, Mr. Mayor.
You're going to have many more shots at me. I have no comment on that, Mr. President, but thank you for the offer. You threw me off. Thank you. I also would like to wish the best to Council Members Jackson and to Council Member Brown. It's been an honor working with you both, Councilmember Jackson for the last 8 years, Councilman Brown for the last 4 years. I agree. I think we've gotten some really good stuff done, and I appreciate your service. And please don't be strangers. Councilman Jackson, I see running all the time. He's my neighbor. Councilman Brown, don't be a stranger. I wanted to let everyone know our Seed Academy applications are open. I think Councilman Hussein mentioned that Melissa White is a emerging developer. Melissa and James are emerging developers, so they're familiar with the Seed program. It's an incredible program where we are helping emerging developers to understand tools, state, federal, and local, and how you can develop in our city. So please, if you are interested, if you want to be a developer, especially an emerging developer, apply. Apply, and they will help you out, and then you will get to be where Melissa and James are, which is developing a blighted property and making good for the community and taking on some risk, which we appreciate. I want to remind everybody that we have a roads suggestions website, which is online. I know Councilman Hussein sent that to his list, and that seems to go far and wide, and we appreciate it. Our folks continue to take comments and suggestions probably through the end of January as we put together our roads plan, and we want to fix as many roads as we can, double the projects with the extra state money. So please check that out. I am excited to announce that we have 11 police officers hired in the class that just came out of the academy. I believe 9 were sworn today, and there are 2 more that need to be sworn, and we have 8 more in the academy, adding some laterals, so we're going to be pretty close to full. And then in January 12th, we'll be posting once again so that we are ready for retirements in the late next year, but we're making some real good headway, and I think that's a credit to our police chief and to our human resources folks that we're getting there, which is good news. And we have a lot more people interested in being police officers, and certainly they're interested here in Lansing. Last but not least, I wanted to address The State House of Representatives Appropriations Committee passed something last week that would cut $650 million statewide in Lansing, assuming these cuts remain. This is going to have some pretty big impacts on some groups that we work with a lot. I'm not going to, I have a list as of September 1st of what we see as cuts. It's not as updated because the cuts were as of December, and we're working with Senator Anthony's office to get those numbers. But if the September 1st cuts are to be believed, programs in our city like VITA, Small Talk, LMTS's Food Pantry, First Presbyterian Space for Nonprofits, the Lansing School District Everett Track, sorry, Councilman Hussein, the zoo, LEPFA for the stadium, the MSU Child Development Lab, Michigan Medicine, U of M Sparrow for the Lansing area, Cristo Rey, Lansing School District for tutoring, the City Rescue Mission, the Ingham County Housing Trust Fund, LEAP, and the Lansing Symphony all stand to lose a lot of money in this budget. I have expressed my significant opposition. I know you all are opposed, because I think I've heard from almost everybody here, but we all have to do what we can to remind the House Republicans on the Appropriations Committee what a hard thing it is that they just did to our community. And I really hope that there will be a way to reverse these cuts and help out many of these institutions that were counting on this money. A lot of them have already spent it and just hadn't provided receipts yet. This is going to be potentially very bad for not only our community, but communities all around the state. And there's a random provision in the law that lets one appropriations committee of one chamber do this unilaterally. So it's not like it goes to the Senate, it doesn't go to full bodies. So 13 members of the House of Representatives have created this impact. And again, I know that we're all concerned from all of those institutions. So as we hear more, we'll keep you all in the loop. Many of you are involved with the legislature in one way or another and are hearing it also. So please keep me in the loop, whatever you hear. I know Councilman Spatafor works with a lot of schools, and a lot of schools are impacted. So we're going to keep on this, but this could truly be devastating for our state. So sorry to leave on that negative note, but we all need to know. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And Mr. President, if I could, I did miss my announcement. I neglected to mention that tonight is the last night for our intern, Sahan Mustafa, who has been with us these past few months. So thank you, Sahan, for all of your assistance in council meetings for the last several months.
Thank you.
And he is local, so hopefully we'll see him again. We are to show cause hearings. Item 5 is the orders to make safe or demolish to the owners of 810 Beulah Street.
Councilmember Palivanaglou.
Thank you, President Cost. This is for 810 Beulah Street. Some brief information. This is a fire damaged structure. The SEV value is $18,700, and the estimated amount of repairs is $81,642. This home was originally red tagged on October 28th of 2022, and we are here for the public hearing on a 21-day make safe or demolish order.
Thank you.
And we have no one signed in on that. So on the referral of the show cause hearing,
Public safety.
and we are to public comment on legislative matters. We have, as I indicated, items 7 through 20, as well as the public hearing number 6, the Parks and Recreation Master Plan.
And Vice President Carter.
All right, this Parks and Recreation Master Plan, we had Brett here during Committee of a Whole, but he's also came a few months ago to speak about the 5-year plan through Parks and Recs. This plan included 6 various points throughout the presentation that he spoke on. This was also shared in many community events. They spoke a little bit about the citywide master plan, the non-motorized transportation plan, the AARP age-friendly community plan, the middle Grand Water Trail Development Plan, Red Cedar Water Trails planning efforts, and then the Tri-County Regional Trails Feasibility Plan. Most of the focus was on accessibility, connectivity, resiliency, having more diversified area and placemaking. And so with that, the most recent 5-year plan expires on December 31st of this year, and the Department of Natural Resources and Environment requires a public hearing before the local legislative body regarding this 5-year plan for tonight.
Thank you.
All right, and we do have some written communications in support of item 17, the principal shopping district. We have 3 letters in support, one of which was signed by 24 organizations and businesses. So those will be made part of the record. And with that, we have Alan Fox, Alan Fox, followed by Loretta Stanaway.
Good evening, council members. I'm here to speak kind of tangentially on item 15, which is where the city council takes the last step of the foreclosure process that the county has managed for tax foreclosed property, and just wanted to use the opportunity to give you a little context as we're down to 8 properties in the city of Lansing that have foreclosed, that have not found any buyers, and are now at that final stage. The rest of the context is that we began with about another 150 or so property owners in the city of Lansing who were withheld from foreclosure because they were involved in payment plans or otherwise receiving assistance from the treasurer's office or as administered by Capital Area Community Services. We spend a lot of our time trying to keep people out of foreclosure, and I do that even after the April 1st deadline at which we officially foreclose. I unforeclose whenever I can, whenever we finally reach somebody who's in a position to preserve their property. In the end, 55 properties in the city of Lansing were foreclosed. That's about the same as each of the past couple of years. And 3 of those were residential structures in the Potter Walsh neighborhood that Eastside Community Action has the resources and the interest in rehabilitating. We used a provision of state law that allows the land bank to claim those properties before auction for the taxes that are due, so the taxing authorities aren't out the money. The land bank did that, and those parcels, those properties are in the process of being turned over to ECAC. They've already have access to them. They're already starting on the rehabilitation. We did the same thing with Eastside a year ago on 2 properties, and it's one of the best partnerships we have to get property back into use. The remaining properties were brought to auction, and all of the remaining residential structures that did not have either severe fire damage or a demolition order, every single one of them sold at auction. And that means we have emerging developers who are going to rehabilitate those properties, get them back on the tax roll, get people back in them. And that's something we're very proud of being able to do. There was one commercial structure that similarly was sold at auction. And we also had 21 vacant lots, of which 16 sold at auction, leaving 5 that nobody saw any value in, as well as the 3 properties, as I said, have demolition issues with them. I'll comment that I'm out of time already, so I appreciate your time. And
Alan, if you want to finish up real quick, that's fine.
One of those properties is the Preuss Building in Old Town. I can tell you that there were at least 2 people at the auctions who felt that that property could be successfully rehabilitated. I understand that the planning department has advised the council that they'd like to hang on to that property so that the city can manage that process, and I very much hope that the council will see its way clear to allowing somebody to take that property rebuild it and keeping it a part of the community. It'll be a new experience for all of us, but I think it'll be very valuable to the community, and I hope you'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Loretta Stanaway, followed by Ivan Drosty.
Well, I have recovered from the flu. My voice hasn't quite done so yet, so I apologize for that. I want to talk about the Parks and Rec Master Plan. I think it was 187 pages, if I remember correctly. And there were 4 sentences on cemeteries. 4 sentences in 187 pages. That plan contains no vision, no provision, and no movement beyond the status quo for the city cemeteries. There's no effort in that plan to reduce the subsidies for the cemeteries by implementing proposed changes to offers that we present to the public as choices. For example, developing the columbarium area in Evergreen into a cremation tower area, building into the Fracture Memorial Garden, the cremation tower area that's been proposed for there, expanding Section G in Evergreen Cemetery for the needs of the Islamic community that are running out of burial spots. They do not do cremation, so they need burial spots. There is nothing in this 5-year plan of any substance relating to the cemeteries. That cannot stand. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Ivan Drosty, followed by Carver.
Yeah, Ivan Drosty, Ward 3. I want to talk about item 19, which is the pilot application for the property on South Waverly Road. The presentation that the developers gave at the last meeting, it gave me a few things to be concerned about. So, I mean, namely, they mentioned that some of the units which are currently being occupied would be renovated. And they outlined a plan about how exactly they would do that, whereby work would be done on their unit during certain parts of the day, but then they would have to be elsewhere the rest of the day. And so I guess, that just kind of brings up a few questions for me, which is, what's the actual schedule at play here? Is there a schedule set on a per building basis or a per unit basis? And when will the tenants living there be notified? How much notice will they be given? And then to that end, what sort of protections will the tenants have? The last thing we want is for the tenants living there right now to be kind of left out to dry if the developers say one thing and then another thing happens and there's nothing been in writing. So, are there any protections that are going to be in place for the residents during this renovation process? Are they going to be written into the agreement or tied to the pilot in any way? Given that, given these concerns and the fact that we're talking about a big kind of out-of-city, out-of-state developer, and they're asking for what is, in my opinion, a rather absurd 32-year tax abatement, I at the very least would like you to table item 18, if not just outright. I'm sorry, item 19, if not just outright vote no on that. And since I do have a few seconds left, I'll just also ask you to vote no on items 18 and 20, the tenant relocation fee exception, and the change to the noise ordinance for reasons that I've outlined at previous meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Carver, followed by Aaron Thomas.
I'm here on behalf of someone else tonight. I did not want to get out of bed. I certainly don't want to be here. But they just had some questions about the Pine Brook revitalization project. Question 1 was, can staff clarify how the city became involved with this acquisition and whether or not other developers were
Carver,
considered?
just 1 second. City TV, could you turn that microphone up a little bit? We're having a hard time hearing.
All righty. Where was I? So question one about the Pine Brook revitalization project was, can staff clarify on how the city became involved with the acquisition and whether other developers were considered? The second question they had was, are there any tenant-focused performance benchmarks tied to the pilot, such as habitability, response times, or compliance reporting over the life of the agreement? And question three was, who will handle the day-to-day management of the property? And will tenants be notified ahead of time who that is and how to contact them? And that is all that is written.
Thank you. Next, we have Aaron Thomas, followed by Jody Washington.
Hi there. Good evening, council members. I'm Aaron Thomas with Standard Communities on behalf of the Pine Brook Manor Revitalization Project. Wanted to inform you all that there's an updated request in front of you for a 20-year pilot, which is coterminous with the Section 8 contract. I wanted to make sure, the goal is to be responsive to your concerns, the community concerns. So I guess with those questions, I wanted to thank you for your time and let you know that. But also just want to maybe address a couple of the questions. One, from management perspective, it's a local management company, and residents will certainly be informed of who it is and contact information that they will have, and you all will have. Certainly you guys can have my contact information for accountability perspective. Let's see, from a process of, the question was asked about the process regarding the rehab. So one, we don't, our ambition is to buy the property. We are under contract to do so. This is part of that process. Once we are able to take over the property, we have kind of a deep resident engagement process where we, one, talk through our plans, get feedback, and change those plans based on resident concerns, talk about the process and timeline, which all in is about a year, give or take, depending on a lot of kind of external conditions. But the goal is obviously to have a ton of resident input because the goal is to improve their quality of life. The question about how the city got involved and what other developers were considered. This was not a publicly owned, this is a privately owned property with a public federal subsidy. So it was a publicly brokered process. So a bunch of different developers bid on it and we won the property. But this was not, it kind of was not run by the city of Lansing, or kind of, this is the first involvement that the city of Lansing has with the project. And I will close by, I guess, saying three particular things. One, about the project, that the under our request for the pilot, the city will not lose any revenue, and the revenue will continue to grow that the city receives from the project. No resident will be displaced, and resident rents will not change. And of course, the $13 million of needed investment of private capital in the property. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And next is Jody Washington.
Thank you, Jody Washington, Lansing. I'm an absolute no on this pilot. I don't care if it's 20 years, 6.2% at 20 years. I don't know if any of you did the math. It comes out to maybe $1,500 a unit per year. They're going to make money hand over fist. They have guaranteed income. This is voucher housing. They get from the government, the taxpayers, full rent. They're not going to miss a dime. If it's for rehabbing and the roofs are bad and the rails are bad, where's code compliance been? Why are the roofs that bad? Why is it falling apart? It begs the question, where has code compliance been? And a pilot is 6.2% of their profit, not the project, it's their profit. I did the math. I was going to send it to you, but you should be doing your own work. So I chose not to. They will make tens of millions of dollars over the 20 years. We will get, they say, project 4 million, maybe. They're going to get a lot of profit. Vote no. They don't have to come to you for a 10% pilot. If they can't do it for 10% at 20 years, they can't do it. I asked the mayor to please stop approving pilots. He said he will never stop. It's your job to stop them. So you did, Andy, you absolutely did. So don't even make that face. He absolutely said that. It's your job, when he brings it forward, to say no. People don't, I have a really good memory. Don't say things to me that you don't want me to remember. So I'm saying it does not make financial sense. We give our own residents a really bad time when they come before you for it breaks. But this guy skips in from LA and another one from Chicago. No, it's not worth it. We are a poor city. You just talked about more cuts that are coming. We can't afford it. What do we have, 32 pilots on the books already? We need people that come in that can afford to be here, can afford to contribute. I'm tired of paying for the big corporations.
Thank you. We are to the referral of the public hearing, item 6, the Park and Recreation Master Plan.
That'll be an action item tonight.
Okay, then we are to the consent agenda.
Vice President Carter.
Yes, I will move the following consent agenda items. We've completed 7, 8, and 9 with the appointments this evening. 10, the Social District RBM Properties LLC, DBA Graywell Hall, 224 South Washington Square. The grant acceptance of COPS micro grant Safer Lansing from the Department of Justice Office of Community-Oriented Policing Services. The nonprofit recognition for Stoop Fest, Inc., and the reappointment, which we did complete also in Cal, of Dr. Thomas Woods as an at-large member of the Human Relations and Community Service Advisory Board for a term to expire on June 30th, 2029.
Okay, we have a proper motion in place. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Okay, we're to resolutions for action. Item 14 is the Oprah District for 323 to 327 South Washington.
Councilmember Garza.
All right, thank you, Council President. So this resolution for action is about creating an obsolete property rehabilitation district for the 2 vacant buildings at 323 to 327 South Washington Square. We held a public hearing on this last Monday, December 8th, and then it was referred to the Development and Planning Committee, which discharged it on December 10th. The buildings were constructed in 1888 and are more than 130 years old. They've been inspected and found to be functionally obsolete due to outdated systems, accessibility limitations, and general deterioration. The property owner, Wormwood LLC, is working with the Lansing Economic Development Corporation on a plan to rehabilitate the first floor commercial space and add residential units on the second upper floors. Establishing this district would allow the owner to apply for a property tax incentive to help offset the cost of bringing these historic buildings back to usable shape. With that, I would move the resolution.
Okay, we have a proper motion in place. Is there any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Item 15, the tax reverted property resolution.
Councilmember Garza.
All right, thank you, Council President. As we heard from our County Treasurer, Mr. Fox, this is a resolution before us regarding the objection to transfer all unsold tax reverted properties from the Ingham County Treasurer to the City of Lansing. Under state law, properties that go through foreclosure and remain unsold after the county's tax auctions are automatically transferred to the local municipality unless the City Council formally objects. This year, there are 8 properties that were not sold at auction and would otherwise transfer to the city by default at the end of the year. So city staff brought this forward because one of these properties at 308 Cesar Chavez presents a unique situation. The city is currently under contract for a make-safe demolish due to public safety concerns. That demolition is underway and may extend beyond December 31st, creating timing, costs, and contractual issues if the property were to transfer mid-process. So by objecting to the transfer of all 8 properties, the city is able to maintain control during the demolition, avoid unnecessary complications, and ensure the site is handled responsibly with a clear plan for the future redevelopment. And with that, I would move the resolution.
We have a proper motion in place. Is there any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Okay, we're to item 16, Parks and Recreation Master Plan.
Vice President Carter.
Yes, as I stated earlier, the Parks and Recreation Master Plan is from 2026 to 2030. This draft has been reviewed by the Parks and Recs Board. And again, the current plan is set to expire on December 31st. And again, the Department of Natural Resources and Environment requires a public hearing before this local legislative body regarding the 5-year plan. And with that, I move the resolution.
Okay, we have a proper motion in place. Is there any further discussion on the master plan? Councilmember Hussein.
Yeah, and I may have missed it, but just so folks in the audience and at home understand, the reason why you saw this on Committee of the Whole, then as a public hearing, then as a resolution for action, the reason for the urgency is that for the city to qualify for grants from the DNR, we actually have to have this master plan, in addition to our CIP schedule, on file with the DNR by February 1st. To Ms. Stanaway's comments earlier, there are local guidelines as well as statutory guidelines that we would have to follow, but that master plan through its entire duration can be, in fact, amended. We won't talk about maybe illegal amendments that have been added in the past, but there is a legal, again, local and statutory framework to allow for that. So that's something I think that we can take up as a body. We can certainly take a look, or at least through advocacy, and maybe work with the Parks Board as well, because I think that your concern has merit. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Passes unanimously.
Okay, we are to ordinances for passage. Item 17, an ordinance of the City of Lansing, Michigan to amend Chapter 812, Section 812.01 of the Lansing Codified Ordinances to modify the boundaries of the principal shopping district as well as Zone B and Zone C North is read a second time by its title. The ordinance was reported from the Committee of the Whole and is on the order of immediate passage.
Vice President Carter?
Thank you, President Koss. Thank you, Clerk. You've summed it up. There was an amendment in Committee of a Whole which pertained to Zone C North, so just want to make note of that publicly, that that has been addressed and amended. And again, this is to amend Chapter 812, Section 812.01 of the Lansing Codified Ordinance to modify by increasing those boundaries of the principal shopping district as well as Zone B and Zone C North.
Okay, do we have any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, can we do a roll call vote, please?
On adoption of the ordinance, Councilmember Spatafor. Yes. Councilmember Brown.
Yes.
Councilmember Carter.
Yes.
Councilmember Garza.
Yes.
Councilmember Hussein.
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson.
Yes.
Councilmember Cost.
Yes.
Councilmember Pelley Valneglu.
Yes.
8 yeas, 0 nays, the ordinance is adopted. Is there a motion for immediate effect?
Do we have immediate effect motion?
I make immediate effect motion.
Okay. Vice President Carter's made the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Passes unanimously.
Okay, item 18 is an ordinance of the City of Lansing, Michigan to amend the Lansing Codified Ordinances, Chapter 1460, Section 1460.51, to add an exemption from collection of a tenant relocation fee if the owner or party in interest demonstrates by clear and convincing evidence that the conditions that caused the rental premises being declared unsafe and uninhabitable were directly attributable to the tenant. Is read a second time by its title. The ordinance was reported from the Committee of the Whole and is on the order of immediate passage.
Vice President Carter?
Yes, and just to add to Clerk Swope, the owner or the party in interest may be exempt from the collection of the tenant relocation fee under subsection C if within 10 days after the rental premises is vacated, as described in subsection A, the owner or party in interest demonstrates to the Office of Code Compliance jointly with the review of the Office of City Attorney. And in this earlier today, we spoke a little bit about making sure that we had clear expectations of that burden of proof, and OCA had explained thoroughly that the facts will be clear and convincing, and listed a few different examples. There was also discussion on having annual review or report in the future of these particular situations, and it was also discussed that we would look to provide shelter for those residents at the city's cost if the resident shall have to vacate the premises.
Thank you, Vice President Carter. And yes, I appreciate that you did cover that part, that just because we're adding this doesn't mean someone's out in the cold if that property becomes red tagged. It's just a matter of who's going to be paying for it, the city versus the landlord. Is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Okay, on adoption of the ordinance, Councilmember Brown.
Yes.
Councilmember Carter.
Yes.
Councilmember Garza.
Yes.
Councilmember Hussein.
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson.
Yes.
Councilmember Cost.
Yes.
Councilmember Pelivanoglou.
Yes.
Councilmember Spatafor. 8 yeas, 0 nays, the ordinance is adopted. Is there a motion for immediate effect?
Do we have a motion for immediate effect? Councilman Hussein moves. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Okay, we are to item 19, an ordinance of the City of Lansing, Michigan to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Lansing by adding a new section 888.35 for the purposes of providing for a service charge in lieu of taxes for 136 low-income multifamily dwelling units in a project known as Pine Brook Manor pursuant to the provisions of the State Housing Development Authority Act of 1966, Public Act 346 of 1966 as amended, MCL 125.1401 et sec. The act is read a second time by its title. The ordinance was reported from the Committee on Development and Planning and is on the order of immediate passage.
Councilmember Garza.
Thank you, Council President. First, I'd like to make a motion to accept the substitute that's before us that changes this 32-year pilot to a 20-year pilot.
Okay. City Attorney, do we need a roll call vote on that after the discussion?
No, it's just this is just to accept the substitute. If the body accepts that, it's like you're amending the document, and then the question on passage will be by roll call.
Okay. So, do we have any further discussion on amending it? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Okay.
All right, thank you. So this item before us is a resolution for action tied to a pilot ordinance for Pine Brook Manor. This ordinance would amend the city code to create a service charge in lieu of taxes for Pine Brook Manor at 136 unit low-income townhouse community located at 3618 West Miller Road. The property was built in 1971 and serves to and continues to serve low and moderate income households under the federal housing programs. We held a public hearing last Monday, December 8th, and then it was referred out of the Development and Planning Committee, which discharged it December 10th. So this request is being made under the State Housing Development Authority Act. Standard Acquisition Rehab LLC is seeking the pilot to support roughly $13 million in capital improvements. Those upgrades include bringing the property up to code, addressing long-term needs like plumbing work, fixtures, appliances, flooring, and parking lot repairs. So under this ordinance, the property would be exempt from standard property taxes and instead pay an annual service charge equal to 6.6% of annual shelter rents. So this exemption would begin with tax year starting in 2027 and could run for 20 years, as long as the property continues to meet the requirements for low-income housing and complies with all reporting and affordability rules. So my understanding, and just to answer a question that was on during public comment, is that right now there's currently 8 vacant units, and that's where the tenants would go as they're remodeling the property, and that's what was discussed during our Development and Planning Committee. And with that, I would move the resolution for a vote.
Okay. Do we have any discussion on this? Councilmember Hussein.
Yeah, so I'm individually, I am, I was kind of all over the map on this. And folks know that I actually started meeting with Aaron Thomas and his team prior to this ever being referred to council. And what I would tell you is that what initially was being proposed is certainly not what is before this body today. And so I want to thank them. I want to thank the administration for their work. And then this body, because I think whether that be through, as an entire body or through development and planning, I think we also helped to move the dial just a touch. I, again, was an absolute no when this came before us with this 45-year piece. And I have historically, I think of, as an example, Stadium North Senior and Family, when they came before us for a 7% at 35 years. Thought that was simply too long, and so I actually voted no on that. But then I think of Evergreen, and we supported that at 15 years and 8%. I think of Walter French, we supported that at 20 years and 4%. And so certainly amenable when there can be some distinction made, I think, for a particular development, a particular developer, et cetera. So in this case, the 20-year coterminous piece was really important for me. And so that kind of came down the pike at the last minute. The 32 years was still too long, but when we were talking about this 20-year commitment to affordability, I could not understand why we were considering, other than the fact that the loan amortizes over 30 years, I couldn't figure out why we were looking at anything longer than 20 years. The program that these guys are using actually incentivizes, and this was said on the record, investment in terms of rehabilitation every 15 to 17 years. With this, in my opinion, this 20-year duration allows for is for a council in 20 years, if there's any other incentive requested at that time, to make a really good, timely decision. Has maintenance been deferred? Have they continued to invest in this property as being incentivized by the program that they're utilizing? So that was important for me. In development and planning, we took a look at the developer fee as well. We know that the market typically is about 18 to 15% when you're looking at, 8 to 15% when you're looking at a project that is considered affordable, a LIHTC project, et cetera. And they're sitting it up in terms of the developer fee about 2 to 3%. So it's incredibly low comparably. The other piece is that it's not a front-loaded developer fee. So even with regard to the construction project, this will be dispersed kind of periodically to ensure performance guarantees, and that was important to me as well. So again, I want to thank the administration. I think they did good work on this. Thank you, Raleigh, and we appreciate you, Aaron. Regardless of whether this is voted up or down, I certainly appreciate the fact that you were available night, day. I assume that's going to continue, right? Because we would track you down if we can't get you, right? Okay. And then really appreciate the fact that you guys are committed to local management. I take a lot of calls on this property. The owner right now is absentee. I would agree with some of the comments I heard earlier. I think we need to do a better job, and I think that's been recognized by code compliance, ensuring moving forward, now that we're fully staffed, now that we have enough code officers by way of increased funding and things of that nature, we need to hold, I think, property owners' feet to the fire to make sure that the reason we're being asked to approve pilots is not to bring a building up to code, but to do some of the things that this particular developer is looking at doing, which is really enhancing a property and making it not just comfortable for the folks there, but potentially transformational for the folks there, which is really important. But yeah, so again, thank you. I will be supporting this individually, and I just wanted to make sure that my reasons were on the record. Thank you.
Thanks. Do we have any other comments? Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you. I'll try to be brief. So Councilman Hussein mentioned the folks that are there. When you think about the folks that are there, they are our heart and bone and backbone of the city. These are a lot of times single parents who went through the voucher program to actually obtain one of those coveted HUD housing vouchers, Section 8, and you all, I've said it a few times, you all know that we do not have enough units, houses, et cetera, even available in the region, in the city, to support the amount of people who has these vouchers. And these people aren't necessarily able to come here or to advocate for themselves. They aren't necessarily able to go to court and to use the resources and have a long delay trying to claw back on their lease. So who's gonna look out for them? Who's gonna help when their property goes to crap? And it will go to crap if you just aren't able to do the repairs. We've approved so many affordable housing, which is different than this. This is low income, where you pay 30% of the suggested rent. So this is such a big complex that's all Section 8, and I think that it's important that we treat them the same, with the same respect, and know that people aren't able to just come to all these late night meetings to come and advocate for themselves. So with the shortage of housing and the lack of quality housing that we all talk about, we have all these people coming up, the rent's too damn high, et cetera, saying, landlords suck pretty much, and rent's high, and we live in deplorable conditions sometimes, or some people we know live in deplorable conditions. Well, this is one way to make sure that this large, I forgot how many unit block is going to be up to snuff and is going to be appropriate and not turn into the former Autumn Ridge or other places that end up becoming such a huge problem. If we don't do this, we capture the same amount, but the property gets lower and the people there are even more miserable without any type of outlets. Because if you open your mouth against your landlord, or you go to court, or you try to move, you risk not having a place to even cash in that voucher for the future. So I am going to support it because I think that this level of low-income housing is an important piece of our housing puzzle, and this complex in particular with so many units is a big percentage of that. So I supported other affordable housing. This is low income. This is Section 8. We have these voucher holders that need it, and we're going to be capturing the same amount of money as if we didn't vote this, because if we don't vote it, it's not just all of a sudden gonna property value go up. It's gonna stay the same. It's just that now it's staying the same for 20 years, but the properties are gonna be brought up to code or at least respectable in the sense that the plumbing, the roofing, all these other things that come along with old buildings and deferred maintenance or whatever it is, even if it's not deferred, these buildings still need attention. So I'll be supporting it, and I'm glad that it's actually low income and not, workforce, affordable, all these other levels. This is the level that we are missing, and I think that it's important to keep them proper and up to date.
Okay, thank you. So, Councilmember Hussein.
Yeah, and I just want to and I appreciate those comments, but regardless of where people settle tonight, I do want to recognize the fact that, and I'm thinking of recent actions. I'm thinking of 618 units at Evergreen, right, by way of pilot. I'm thinking of 76 units at Walter French by way of pilot. I'm thinking of direct and indirect support for 339 units, bringing those back up, and we're talking low-income and affordable over at Sycamore. And then if this was supported tonight, obviously you're looking at 136 units here. I bring that up because whether it be the administration, whether it be this body, appreciate obviously law support, our community, our advocacy groups, that's 1,200 units of low-income and affordable housing in recent action, right, that we've helped to support in terms of either rehabilitating and bringing back online or ensuring that they are safe and appropriate. We know as a city we cannot meet the 20,000 units over 20 years. We simply can't do it. But we are doing our part. And what we need to do a better job at with regard to this body, the administration, and our community is use some of these successes and use some of these efforts that we've supported and leverage that really across the region and say, look, we are doing our part. We're going to continue to do our part, but we don't have the contiguous land, nor do we have the existing housing stock to ever meet the need of 20,000 over 20 years. And so regardless of where people settle tonight and regardless of what people are supportive of or not supportive of in the community, I just want to say thank you because I really do believe we are doing our part in this fight. Thanks.
Thanks. So, we have, right before I got on council 3 years ago, this body approved Stadium North Lofts, which is in the First Ward. And that was a pilot. And it was done by the cheapest materials that could be found. And I am hammered with phone calls from multiple residents regularly about issues and stuff that was not done right. And this city has over 30 pilots. And just last week, this body told Mr. Schrader that who fixes up the houses on his street, that we're not going to give him a break on his $1,500 red tag fee on a house that he's been working on for 2 years. But the previous property owner is going to get away with the $2.9 million sale scot-free, and then we're going to give a tax abatement to folks out of Chicago and Los Angeles. I've read the reviews. The rents go up with these folks. People are going to see a price increase on these rents. They do it. My other concern is we went from 45 years to 32 years. Now we're down to 20 years. I don't see why they can't do 20 years at 10%. They wouldn't even need us. They could do 20 years at 10%. If they can shift that many years, there's no reason they couldn't do 10% on the pilot. And they wouldn't need our go-ahead. It is very hard for me to try to explain to the constituents that I represent because while, we think of these types of housing projects as the only low income in Lansing, we have a lot of neighborhoods that are low income where people are getting dinged all the time for grass or they can't manage it anymore, especially seniors that can't manage it. And they get nailed with fines. They have a hole in their roof and they have to leave their house. They can't afford to replace that roof. And we fine them. We don't give them a tax break. But then we turn around and say, here's a tax break for the big guys. Nothing for you, but here's a tax break for the big guys. And I can't, in my heart, justify that. I was out Friday night on a hill that I had requested earlier in the day and been promised was going to be salted on the esker because there was 2 inches of ice on it. And I was out there at 7 o'clock at night throwing salt in the road because a school bus had been stuck for 3 hours. Because we keep hearing we don't have enough money to put down sand and salt in residential streets. That bus was stuck. The big giant truck that pulls semis out was stuck. They got stuck too. So we're going to continue. We got over 30 pilots, and we're going to continue to add another one. That's another burden onto the taxpayers in Lansing. How do we pay? How do we keep paying for stuff? The mayor spoke about all the budget cuts to the state, but we're going to give tax breaks. I don't think we're in a position to be given a tax handout to these developers. And I understand that they're going to fix up this property, but I'm going to go back to the original point that's been mentioned a few times. Where has code compliance been on this? And I'm not going to point the finger at any one person. There's been a lot of change over there, but the pictures that I saw of the beat up railings and the poor conditions, how does it continue to pass inspection? That should have never happened. And, I'm sorry if some people think sitting up here think I'm wasting your time saying this, but I'm tired of doing this over and over again. We had a pilot here on Ottawa Street that never got their rental inspection. Carol was sitting on council, and a lot of you were too when we were looking at how we could pull back a pilot because they never did an inspection after they did it. Because we hear all the time, oh yeah, we're going to be here, part of the community, no problem. You're going to hear from us all the time. Just as soon as we pass, you never hear from them again. Anybody that voted on the Stadium North Loft, hear from those folks anymore? No. Anybody hear from the guys at the apartment complex here on Ottawa that's a pilot that never got an inspection? No. They never come back and talk. It's a folly. And in 10 years, they're going to come back and they're going to ask for an extension. We've got to do better. Do better for all the citizens. I'm going to be voting no. Is there any further comment? Okay. Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, could you please do roll call vote?
Okay, on adoption of the ordinance, Councilmember Carter.
Yes.
Councilmember Garza.
Yes.
Councilmember Hussein.
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson.
Yes.
Councilmember Cost.
No.
Councilmember Pelli-Vonnegut.
Yes.
Councilmember Spatafor. Councilmember Brown.
Yes.
7 yeas, 1 nay. The ordinance is adopted. Is there a motion for immediate effect?
Motion for immediate effect. Councilmember Hussein moves. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Oppose.
Okay, then that takes us to item 20. An ordinance of the City of Lansing, Michigan to amend Chapter 654 of the Lansing Codified Ordinances, Sections 65402, 65403, 65405, 65407, 65408, 65413, and 65414, to establish that the City of Lansing's regulations regarding noise applies to all properties within the city with limited exemptions, and to amend how such noise in the city is evaluated by removing references to decibel levels and instead adopting a plainly audible standard at various distances depending on the time of day, is read a second time by its title. The ordinance was reported from the Committee on Public Safety and is on the order of immediate passage.
Vice President Carter.
I will concur all of what Clerk Swope stated. In addition, add that the industrial noise generated from an industrial property shall be exempt from the requirements and prohibitions of this chapter. If a non-industrial activity or business occurs on the industrial property, the requirement and prohibitions of this chapter shall apply.
Thank you, Vice President Carter. Do we have further discussion on this? Councilmember Jackson, how did I know?
Probably my comments from Committee of the Whole. All right, so I do not like annoying noises, loud noises. I don't even like loud exhaust, and I don't like loud music coming from other people's cars, especially when it has profanity. However, I don't think that this ordinance is appropriate for a few reasons. I'm going to try to touch on them quick because there's so much in here, including having a bird chirping. Birds chirp in nature. I shut my windows, especially in the summer and spring. But to be a criminal misdemeanor, arrestable, punishable by jail, fines, again, a police officer, and we have one back there, I can't imagine Officer Friendly would really want to go to somebody's apartment to basically investigate whether or not a noise can be heard clearly across into someone else's room. And to have to respond to that, you have to turn your body camera on. You probably have to make a report. You have to send it to, in this case, the city attorney's office, and the city attorney's assistants are going to have to review that and say, okay, let's keep the charge, or better yet, you can just write a ticket and it'll be a summons where you don't even have to go through the city attorney's office. But either way, a lot has to happen. Now, this is really hard because there's so much on here. So I'm going to tell you all the things that can get you arrested. And to think that, like Chief Backus, even though he was not prepared to talk about it, and I appreciate that he did say a few things, but to think that, warnings are the general standard and information and education is wishful thinking, because there's no law or rule saying that an officer has to even do that. They can arrest somebody if they want. I've had clients arrested for jaywalking and stop for tents, all these things. Jaywalking is a crime. But my point is that you would think that could be a warning or should be a warning, but it's really not necessarily the case. It's all up to the discretion of the police officer. So if I'm looking at page 8, line 4, sounding a horn or signal device on any motor vehicle, motorcycle, recreational vehicle, sounding a horn, that's literally beeping your horn. Now, there is a motor vehicle exception. I assume it's like, if a car is about to collide, you can press your horn to alert them of the danger. All right, you probably won't get arrested for that. You have to check the motor vehicle code to see when you can sound a horn and when you can't. But what about pulling up to your friend's house and beep, beep? That, under this ordinance, is illegal and arrestable. If you have an ice cream truck, and there's only a few around, and you have the siren going off, and all the kids are running, under this ordinance, that is illegal. If you are poor and your muffler has a hole in it and you can't replace it, or if you just have a muffler that needs repair and it makes a noise, that is illegal and arrestable under this ordinance. And that's right there, line B, number 10 on page 8. If you drive a Harley Davidson and it makes that loud noise, because some motorcycles like the crotch rockets, those are a little quieter, but the Harley Davidsons and those types, they're loud. That is illegal and arrestable under this ordinance. And City Attorney, if I'm wrong, you can take a note and correct me later, if you don't mind, because I don't think I am just by reading this. Loud music between 7 a.m., this is the daytime one, and 11 p.m. Any electronically amplified sound system in a motor vehicle And you'll find out this is also in your home and apartments as well. If you can hear it from 50 feet, and again, 50 feet is just from here to the middle of the gallery, if that. If you can hear that, you can be arrested. You definitely can be stopped, you definitely can be searched, and you can have police contact for that. Now, windows up, windows down, I think that makes a difference because you can hear more when the windows are down, you can hear less when it's up. But if it goes past 11 p.m. and now you're in the evening time, that goes from 50 feet to 30 feet. 30 feet is 10 yards. Again, a first down from here to the first row. If you can hear the music, you can be arrested and it's illegal. Not even a civil infraction where you can get fined, but a misdemeanor punishable by 90 days in jail here in the city of Lansing. Moving on, again, nighttime. I mean, how many people are actually gonna know that you can't have your music loud enough to be heard 10 yards away? On those warm summer days, again, annoying, yes. I drive down all the streets, I hear the people, it's annoying to me. I'm a reasonable person, I see a noise disturbance as something that a reasonable person would be annoyed about, that has basic sensitivities. I get it, that would probably be me, but again, not criminal. It shouldn't be criminal unless we pass this ordinance. If you allow someone else to do it, it's illegal. And there's a presumption that if a car is making the noise and you're the registered owner, then it's presumed that you're the person. Again, that sounds like a civil type of judgment or a civil type of measuring device, but not criminal, because the attorney knows that in criminal it's proof beyond a reasonable doubt that you're the person that did it. You can't just presume that you're the person because you're the registered vehicle. When my son and daughter are old enough to drive in 10 or less years, and I let them use my car, and if they're playing their music, then I guess I could be put in jail. Not something we should pass. Moving on, no person shall make or continue to cause or permit to be made verbally or mechanically any unnecessary noise disturbance. What on earth does that mean, an unnecessary noise disturbance? Is that someone shouting across the park? Is that someone shouting like across the street to their neighbor? I think that would be. If it's an unnecessary noise disturbance, that is criminalized. Playing or using or operating or permitting to be played or used or operate any television, radio, musical instrument in the daytime, if that can be heard 100 feet, so 33 yards, again, roughly the length of this room, don't let your daughter or son be in the band, and dang sure don't let them practice that, because under this ordinance, they or you could be arrested and charged with a misdemeanor. Now, again, we don't expect our officers, we hope that they won't do it, but again, this ordinance permits them to use their discretion and make an arrest. And again, that's on page 10, line 13, that I'm reading that part. And now let that go into the nighttime, and then that distance gets even closer. Any television, radio, musical instrument, illegal. Now, where I have another problem on page 11, line 3, number 3, in a multi-unit residential dwelling. This is where I think that it disproportionately will affect renters or people with less means, because if you allow your TV or radio to be heard for more than 15 minutes across the residential line, now we know some of these apartments have paper-thin walls. If you got a TV up next to the wall and is adjacent to another resident, if it can be heard, then you are committing a crime that you could be arrested on. Now, how many neighbors are getting ready to call the police about hearing their neighbor's TV. Is that really something that we want our officers want to go enforce? I don't think so. If we hear them playing the drums in their apartment, annoying, yes. Should you talk to your neighbor? Probably. Should it be a crime? I don't think so. Moving on. Page 11, line 18. Offering for sale or selling anything by shouting or outcry within a residential area. Extra, read all about it. Illegal. The Good Old Boys News Club, don't try to sell your papers where someone else can hear it, because you could go to jail. If you are a bell ringer for the holidays, bing, 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 that would also be an unnecessary noise, maybe selling or soliciting. Illegal. Now again, do we expect our officers to do it? No, but can they? Yes. Will there be some at some point? Probably so, because there's something called pretextual stops or pretextual investigations where the officer doesn't necessarily care about the noise violation, but wants to go in on something else or just maybe harass or maybe investigate for some other reason, but they're using the pretext of the noise to create the contact. In that same paragraph, animals and birds, owning or possessing any bird or other animal which frequently or for a continued duration makes a sound which creates a noise disturbance across a residential property line. So if your bird's going off, if your dog's going off, annoying, yes, criminal should not be. Civil infraction, I would be open to that, and maybe that's something that the body wants to consider, is amending this from a crime to a civil infraction that's punishable by a fine, would still require police contact, which I don't think is a good idea. But again, nature has these birds, and they're annoying in springtime when they come and migrate and they're outside my window and I'm trying to sleep because they start off really early. They can't be arrested, but if you have a bird, you could be arrested. Again, TV, drum, musical instrument, all these things, unacceptable. At first I was concerned that a football game at Sexton or something would be a problem, but the city attorney pointed out in the exceptions that the school property is a exception. So lug nut games and fireworks, I guess, are gonna be okay, even though those are the loudest things in that area. You hear those amplifiers and you hear those fireworks, that's gonna be louder than any bird or drum set a person could have. Power tools, lawn or garden tool being used in residential areas between 8 and 8. Okay, 8 o'clock is nighttime, but in the summer, 8 o'clock is very light, and I usually get done and I'm cutting my grass past 8 o'clock. I could go to jail, or I could have unwanted police contact if you're cutting your grass after 8 p.m. in the summer, or any time for that matter, or doing any type of yard work. Alarms, page 13, line 10. If you have a burglar alarm or any other alarm, like, for example, your alarm clock goes off and you're gone because you forgot to change it on the weekend or something like that, those are annoying. I had a person adjacent to me in college whose alarm always went off after he left, and I couldn't get in his room. I was so annoyed. But do I think that person should go to jail? If it was in Lansing, they could. And believe if people find out about this, they're gonna be calling the police on their neighbors left and right, because people would rather call the police sometimes than even talk to them and ask them. And there's a lot of neighbor feuds that happen where it would be great to just get back at your neighbor, and how better to do it than involve the police. Oh, they're not doing anything illegal? Well, I can hear their smoke detector going off because the battery is low. That, if you can hear that smoke detector beep, beep every so often from one apartment to the other, you could go to jail. Air conditioning units. If your air conditioning unit is too loud, maybe this noise is on the outside, you all hear it. If this noise was on the outside of your building and it can be heard from the next house or the next apartment, you could be having police contact. Do you remember the people who complained about sparrows noise a couple years ago? There were some generators over by Jerome Street that was just loud and the people didn't like it. That's a crime. I don't think you can put sparrow in jail, but if it was a person or a house, you could do that. So my point is that this should not be a crime. I think that it unduly oppresses and unduly goes against people who are in apartments. Now, what type of people are in apartments? Well, a lot of people, but overwhelmingly, it's non-homeowners, people that are in apartments. And again, there's different type of people who have a house that's kind of standalone without neighbors nearby. You guys are going to be good. You guys have your own house. You can probably be as loud as you want. But if you are in Pinebrook Manor or all these places that we just talked about, you better be really quiet because you could have police contact. What's so bad about police contact? Well, it just creates unnecessary interactions that could result into a lot worse things. We've seen people, not so much in Lansing yet, thank God, but we've seen people shot and killed for a lot less from police contacts. How mad would you and your family be if a police officer came to your door saying, you know, hey, you're violating the noise ordinance that was passed last week by city council. Your neighbor Karen called and, you know, what's your name? You have any warrants? Come out here, let me pat you down. All this could happen under this ordinance. I don't think we should pass it. If we did anything, which I still don't like the idea of, I think we should make it a civil infraction. But even then, we're involving our officers a little bit too much for something that's a little bit too little. So I just read through this, and I'm sure you all have too, and there's just so many little things in here that are problematic, including the definitions themselves about what a noise disturbance is and isn't, and who is gauging what is reasonable and not reasonable, what's loud enough and not, whose ears are sensitive and whose aren't, all these things, whose apartment complex didn't get the pilot and got these cheap walls is too much, and I don't think we should pass it, and that's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. I think, you know, to be fair, so folks are aware, this is the noise ordinance. A lot of things that you listed have been on the books for years. This was simply us updating a noise ordinance. This is not a new ordinance of any kind, so I'm not aware of anybody that went to jail for 90 days for mowing their lawn after 8 or using a grinder. In fact, the conversation that I had with the police chief on his way out tonight, most of this revolved around motor vehicles. We have a serious problem with motor vehicles and the artificial noise that comes out of these cars nowadays that are racing up and down our streets. It sounds like gunfire. It can be heard from miles away. And the noise ordinance, as it currently stood before, required a decibel reading device, which has now been removed for that reason, because it was hard for LPD to be able to enforce these loud mufflers. We have a muffler in my neighborhood, and it's not a, I think you mentioned mufflers with holes in it, which I have been there and fixed that 1,000,000 times with a can. I understand what you're talking about, but this noise from the vehicle in our neighborhood, I get texts about it every night, it rattles my windows 6 blocks away. And that is on purpose. That is an artificially added part to that vehicle. And so when I asked, in public safety worked on this ordinance update, it was to streamline this to make it easier to try to address some of the things, not to make it harder. And like the animals and the birds chirping and stuff, that's all been in here for years and years. And, no one's gone to jail for their bird chirping. And yeah, we have dogs that, and people do complain about dogs barking in the backyard. And my dogs bark in the backyard, and then I scream at them, and then they bark more, and it's a whole thing. So I think that, there's a little bit of extreme fear on this, that it, could be the extreme worst things in all cases, like your TV's too loud, we're taking you to jail for 90 days, to the gulag. But that's, that's not realistic. But I think it's fair to say, and I think it was mentioned a few times, apartment buildings. We have a lot of people that do live in apartments that have young kids that work 3 and 4 jobs, and it's understandable if they're getting angry because it's later at night and they can hear just thumping music and they're trying to sleep because they've worked 17 hours and they've got to get back up in 5 and go to a job. I get that. And they should have recourse for that. Or those kids that need to get an education at school and they can't sleep because the windows are shaking from loud music. I understand that too. I think that music can still be loud and be at a reasonable level that doesn't have to disturb everybody. So that's my take on this. And Councilmember Pelivanoglou.
Thank you, President Cost. And Councilman Jackson, I appreciate your comments. I understand where you're coming from. I think about several years ago, much earlier to my joining this council, you put forward initiatives to, repeal some ordinances from the books because, it did encourage additional contact with people and police officers in situations where, the sentiment was that it was essentially giving a reason for that police contact when it was just the normal course of events, kids playing basketball on the street and so on and so forth. And so I understand where you're coming from, and I appreciated all of that work that you put in then on having those ordinances repealed. I look at this ordinance, this noise ordinance, a bit differently. As we were engaging, as we decided to move forward with this and have it reviewed by OCA, we understood that police were being called because of the loud noises in their neighborhoods, because of the loud music. I personally don't believe that updating the language would encourage additional residents to call the police. I feel that they're already calling the police for these reasons. And we had, public comment where a resident had called 3 or 4 separate occasions for police to come out because the neighbors were playing loud music down the block at all hours of the day and night. And there really was no recourse at that time for the neighbor. And so, having those items brought forward, taking a good hard look at, like President Koss said, streamlining in some areas, taking a look at what made sense, looking at how officers were able to enforce in some of those extreme situations, and then coming up with a way for, us to improve the quality of life of our residents, those people who are, suffering from these, neighbors who essentially are not listening to them, having that neighbor-to-neighbor contact. I think that this could be helpful in those situations. And just to respond to some of your comments, I get where you're coming from, but as a parent, when my kids take one of our cars, I understand that I'm responsible for everything that happens while they're driving that vehicle, whether I'm in the vehicle with them or not. So I get what you're saying. Parents will be held responsible if their kids are blasting music. As a parent, that's my expectation, that I'll be held responsible for the actions of my kids when they're driving my vehicle around. And I also think that oftentimes calls for noise complaints are made to the non-emergency line, meaning that, they're not necessarily dialing 911 for an immediate, police officer to show up. I understand that's the desire with some of these calls, but, I don't know that officers are really going to drop everything that they have and patrol over to an area specifically for a noise complaint in all of those situations. So those are just some points I'd like to address. We really did go through this with good intentions to help residents in the quality of life and some of the concerns that we were hearing.
Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you. Just to respond to your response to my response.
I'm gonna miss you,
So,
by the way.
if we want, the backfire noise or the artificial, we should narrowly tailor the ordinance for that, if that's what we want. And then when we talk about the difference between motor vehicle versus residence, I understand there is a difference. I would say the nature of motor vehicles are moving around. So I guess the same person could come home, but you're moving around the streets, so that noise is moving. It's not necessarily always parked and then just right there. And then really, who do you think is going to, who do you think the officers are going to stop when they hear loud music? Do you think it's do you really think that it's just giving them the green light to stop anybody that they can hear their music on? And I don't think that's good for us, because I think that the people that's going to be stopped are probably young black men. I'm just going to say it. And it's going to be legal, and it's going to be the reason the officer makes a stop, because a person's music was too loud because it could be heard. And last, I would like to make a motion to amend and add a line that says, a violation of this ordinance or subsection results in a civil infraction. That's my motion.
City Attorney.
I just want to make sure, I want to clarify, are you requesting that violations of this entire chapter, 654?
Yes.
Okay. That would be an amendment not to the ordinance that's in front of the body. It would be an amendment to 654.99, which is the penalties section of chapter 654. If the body votes in favor of that, we can draft that. I think we would need a recess, though.
Councilman Brown.
Thank you. Thank you for the rich dialogue on this topic. I think that this amendment would kind of get way out there. I think we should just vote on what's in front of us. Thank you.
Okay, so we have an amendment on the table. This can be a voice vote, I believe. So if there's no further discussion, all those in favor say aye. Oppose?
Aye.
Can
That
we
was
do a
for the
roll call,
amendment,
please?
correct?
What was that? Yeah, it was for the amendment,
Okay.
yes.
So, yeah,
Can we do a roll call vote on that, because it's hard to hear?
On the amendment, Councilmember?
Yes, so the amendment is to change this from a 90-day misdemeanor to a civil infraction, correct? Okay, which would require a recess and a change in a different section.
Correct. We would have to add 654.99 to the end of this amending ordinance. And, right, it would change, and then it would say all violations of chapter 654 would be civil infractions. So all violations would be civil infractions, not misdemeanors. Because that's the way I understood the question to be, or the proposal to have been made.
All right. So on the amendment.
On the amendment, Councilmember Garza. No. Councilmember Hussein. No. Councilmember Jackson. Councilmember Cost.
No.
Councilmember Pelli-Vonaglu.
No.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Yes.
Councilmember Brown.
No.
Councilmember Carter.
Yes.
3 yeas, 5 nays. The amendment is not adopted.
Okay. So do we have, we're back to the original amendment. Do we have any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, can we get a roll call vote, Mr. Clerk?
On adoption of the ordinance as reported from committee, Councilmember Hussein. Yes. Councilmember Jackson. Councilmember Cost.
Yes.
Councilmember Pelli-Vonaglu.
Yes.
Councilmember Spatafor.
No.
Councilmember Brown.
No.
Councilmember Carter.
No.
Councilmember Garza.
Yes.
4 yeas, 4 nays, the ordinance is not adopted. And with that, we are to speaker registration for public comment on city government-related matters. That's the yellow sheet in the back. We'll give you another minute to sign in with Sahand. And in the meantime, we're to the referral items.
Vice President Carter.
Yes, I'll motion that all items be considered as being read in full and that the proper referrals be made by President Cost.
Okay, proper motion in place. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
From the clerk, we have minutes of boards and commissions.
Place on file.
From the mayor, we have the reappointment of Cassandra Nelson to the Historic District Commission,
Development and Planning.
the appointment of Kim Butcher to the Board of Review.
Committee of the Whole.
2 items relative to Act 7, 2025, sale of city property, 200 block of South Cedar Street.
Committee of the Whole.
2 items on Z2, 2025, 220 South Larch Street and 3 adjoining parcels, rezoning, conditional rezoning from DT3 to IND1.
That'll be Committee of the Whole.
2 items on SLU2 of 2025, special land use for 4220 South Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard to authorize the use as a church.
It'll be Development and Planning.
Grant application, Transportation Economic Development Funds grant for the Capital City Boulevard Reconstruction Project.
Ways and Means.
And Communications and Petitions, we have a claim appeal. Maria Fletcher for $1,649 in trash fees at 1128 Hickory Street.
City Operations.
And we are to remarks by council members.
Okay, do we have any further remarks by council members? Seeing none.
Remarks by the mayor.
Mr. Mayor?
I just want to wish everyone a happy Hanukkah and a happy Merry Christmas coming up. But thank you to everybody who was part of the menorah lighting today. Thank you, Councilman Cost, for stopping by. And happy holidays, everyone.
Happy Hanukkah, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we are to public comment on city government-related matters. First, I would indicate we do have one written communication opposing Act 7 of 2025 and Z2 of 2025. And then we'll have Allison Reck, followed by Loretta Stanaway.
Hi, thanks for taking time to listen. My name is Allison Rake. I'm a resident of the 4th Ward in Lansing's Morris Park neighborhood. So, of course, I'm here to talk about the proposed Nova Lansing Mod Pod locations and express opposition of the proposed Shabazz Academy location. I live 3 doors down from Shabazz on the same block, so of course that gives me vested interest in this project. However, it also gives me firsthand understanding of why this would not be a proper location for the neighborhood, the Mod Pod residents themselves, or the city. Shabazz is by far the smallest location on the top 5 list. It's directly surrounded by residential properties, just feet away on all 3 sides, and one of Lansing's busiest corridors, as you know, MLK Avenue on the 4th. Observationally, this would not be a humanizing or trauma-informed environment for the Mod Pod residents. There's little privacy, constant noise, which we talked about, and heavy visibility from nearby homes and traffic. If we want the program to succeed and for people to utilize it in the first place, we need a space that promotes residents in the Mod Pod's dignity rather than putting them on display just because it was the only non-park option left on the list that got shoehorned in there a little bit. And of course, we also can't ignore the impact on property values and the city's tax base as a whole. The Shabazz lot is embedded within an extremely dense residential area, as you know. While the Nova Lansing website alleges this will not decrease property values, in a presentation on the site, I looked into the sources that backed this claim and read all the studies in my free time and found that none evaluated pods or similar standalone structures and instead were based on affordable housing apartment units incorporated into existing buildings. So totally different, not apples to apples situation. This research also took place in New York City and Orange County. And the Orange County building is pretty funny. It's like a beautiful, it looks like a resort. It's very Orange County. all this to say, I think we can agree that the volatility of property values in New York City and Orange County is not comparable to South Lansing. While I understand there's limited research available, the assertion that this will not impact property values simply is not true for us. Hundreds of us actually. We've seen Morris Park change a lot in the past 8 years since I bought a house here. A school closed, a church closed, and situating this adjacent to 560 residential properties within a 1,000-foot radius would have a lasting economic impact on the housing stock and hundreds of homeowners. I think the project can work, but only with the best fit for everyone involved, the Mod Pod residents, the community residents, and the city. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Next is Loretta Stanaway, followed by Jamie Moriarty.
This is just to announce that beginning on the 31st of December, the Cemetery Courtesy Office will be closed for approximately 2 weeks while it undergoes some renovations designed to increase its comfort levels for the public and the volunteers, and to reduce utility costs, and to remove lead and asbestos features from within the structure. So we will be closed from the 31st through probably the 19th. And while we are closed, we will make available by phone and by email our volunteers to continue to answer questions for the public as much as we are able to with online resources. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Jamie Moriarty, followed by Cutter Hume.
Hello. My name is Jamie Moriarty, and I am a resident of the Morris Park neighborhood and owner within the immediate vicinity of the Shabazz School. I am here to voice objection to the selection of the El Shabazz Academy for the location of the NOVA program Mod Pod site. Of course, I too have a vested interest in this, but there are quite a few reasons why I think this is a poor choice. First off, I'm appalled by the lack of transparency from the HDRCS, and I'm disappointed in the lack of information shared in response to public comment. There is very little content on their website. The neighborhoods were not brought into the Mod Pod location conversation, and the Parks Department was not brought into the site selection process. This all signals poor planning process. Why were parks considered if not done in collaboration with the Parks Department? And why is there only one private property that was thoroughly evaluated with a cost estimate? There are several issues with the Shabazz location. There is a pedestrian overpass right by that area, which would be a security risk to the residents, as you can quite literally get into the area from that pedestrian overpass. The parking lot is graded for rainwater control. It is not level. The basketball courts are in disarray. It is not level. There is no location on this property ready to receive the pods. The main school building is not ADA accessible. It is a designated historical building, and there are many restrictions on what can be done with it, and it would need major renovation to be fully utilized. Many developers have considered this property, and they have walked away because it is too expensive to repair and too much financial risk. So how will it be more affordable for the city to fix? The Mod Pods are an opportunity to transform non-green space in the city that is not currently maintained into a more beautiful space that adds to the city and serves the needs of our unhoused residents more appropriately. The Shabazz location is currently being maintained. It's not an eyesore, and it's not doing harm as is, other than the groundhogs that eat everything in my garden. Also, perhaps another risk to the foundation of the building. If this program is done correctly, it's going to be a great service for the community. But if it fails, it's going to do harm to the people that it aims to serve. It will deter future pod-style housing, and it will harm the homeowners in the surrounding area. We need to make the right decision for this Mod Pod community, and we need to take the time to find the right location, not to rush into a bad decision. I would like the money to be spent responsibly to make it stretch and serve as many people as we need.
Thank you. Next is Cutter Hume, followed by Ivan Drosty.
Hello, my name is Cutter, and I live in the Shabazz area also. When I first heard about this was a week before Thanksgiving. I heard about it from my coworker. He read an article on Lansing State Journal and shared it with me. Following that, I messaged my neighbor. They're in the know. They know everything. They are where we go to talk about community issues. They were unaware of the situation. That weekend before Thanksgiving, my wife and I spent time doing all the research, going through all the documentation to get as much information on this program as possible. And then we went door to door. We shared our pamphlets. For the first time ever, meeting a lot of our neighbors in the area, handed out 40 flyers. Within that area of like the immediate Shabazz, all those people were either just informed about it from that article, or found out from us or from their neighbors. We went to the meeting on Tuesday, and we were told that, or at least I was told, that it was a failing on my part, that I was not informed because I didn't watch the news. I didn't go on Facebook. I deactivated my Facebook. Everyone's got that crazy uncle on there. You just remove yourself from it. So I reactivated my Facebook. Found out that Shabazz now is the prime site because the 4 other sites have been removed because they were parks. We then proceeded to make more flyers and then hand out more flyers. Just this past weekend, we gave 250 flyers out. And again, same response from the community, that they either did not know about it, they either just found out about it from their neighbors or found out when we found out. What's troubling us is the lack of transparency, the lack of information, the lack of communication that this program has had. I was told that this has been in the works for, 2+ years. I've lived in the area for that, and not a single moment has anyone come to our door, knocked on our door, handed us a flyer, received a mailer, anything. I'm hearing a lot tonight that they're just not in the budget. There's no money in the budget, things are getting cut, things are way too expensive. During that meeting, I was told that, well, how come we didn't hand out flyers? We don't have the resources or manpower to do that. Okay, well, how come we didn't send out mailers to those areas? We don't have the finances to do that. It is a concern that Lansing is going to do this project and then just kind of abandon it like Moores River Park Pool. It's been in it's like 5 years in the making, and it's still like opening this summer, 5 years ago. How's the Debbie Stabenow Park and the ice rink? We're concerned that Lansing is not going to follow through with this and just leave a blighted structure in the Shabazz area and just wash their hands of it and walk away. I mean, if this is done right, it's going to be a boon for the community. It's going to be a boon for everyone involved. But if not, it's going to be detrimental to a lot of people in the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Ivan Drosty, followed by Sean Brock.
Ivan Drosty, Ward 3. No doubt everyone on this dais has heard a lot of input from the public over the last few weeks about the Mod Pod situation. In particular from homeowners who feel as though parks are not suitable location, that the process is going too fast. You've heard, we got to hear about 3 hours of that at the last NOVA meeting. I'm sure that we're going to hear some more of it at this upcoming meeting on Thursday. It's important that everyone on this dais please ignore these people. The people that you should be listening to are not the homeowners who are housed and are not suffering from homelessness. The people that you should be soliciting an opinion from are the unhoused people who may end up living in this community, and the people who have been unhoused previously and have had the lived experience to weigh in on this issue. That's who you should be bringing to the table. That's whose opinion you should be soliciting. I live in Southwest Lansing, within relative proximity to both Stabenow Park and the Shabazz School. I don't have any expectation that if either of those locations were selected that it would impact my property values. But if it does impact my property values, so be it. Are we really saying that my personal wealth should take priority over the lives of 65 human beings. We need to get this done. This is just 65 people we're talking about. We have hundreds of people facing homelessness in this city. By some estimates, 400 or 500. If we can't help 65 people, then what does that say about our ability to actually solve this problem? Secondly, I just want to talk about the encampment at Dietrich a little bit. We can't be rushing into a situation where these folks are going to be expected to leave on a certain deadline without supplying them housing first. Okay, that's the order of operations here. We need to find them a place to live first before we do anything at the location. The last time the city and one of the property owners came to some type of agreement, what happened is that bulldozers showed up within hours and cleared a third of the camp, and people lost their belongings, and it was highly traumatic. Okay, that can't happen again. This is unacceptable. We need this. It's the middle of winter now. People could die. People have died at this location. This is real life and death stuff here that we're talking about. So we need to get our ducks in order. We need to find places for these people to live, and we need to do it immediately. And that applies to the Mod Pods as well as Dietrich Park. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Sean Brock, followed by Ariel Cushman.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, first I would just like to say happy holidays to everyone. My name is Sean Brock. I'm a lifelong resident of Lansing. I have been homeless. I've been homeless a few times through some of my own decisions, through having situations that I had no control over. We need to do better for the homeless population. I love the idea of these Mod Pods, but this is just a Band-Aid on a shotgun wound. We need to do better. This council, Mr. Mayor, you have the chance to be leaders for the country. We should try to be that. We need to help everybody that we can. There is no reason for anybody to be out freezing to death. There's no reason for anybody to be out there cold and hungry. There's no reason for it. We, as a society, as a city, as a country, we need to do better. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Ariel Cushman, followed by Aliza Ghaffari.
I would like to start off by saying that whatever you guys can do to avoid that crazy cuts that they're trying to do, please do so, because as a person who's been on the streets my whole life pretty much, but the last 2 years here in Lansing, we can't afford that. I mean, we already, as President Koss said, can't even afford to salt the roads properly, so we really can't afford those cuts. But I'm here today. I am a former resident of Dietrich Park. I was one of the main organizers behind Fallen Angels Ministries. I've seen a lot of really crazy stuff out there due to the city's lack of care. I was not housed by means of the city. It was caring community members that housed me. I would still be living in the park right now, freezing, possibly to death, if it wasn't for the kindness of the community. We have a ridiculous amount of red tags and, warehouses, Rite Aid buildings sitting around doing nothing that could be used to keep people at least from getting frostbite. We need permanent solutions for housing, not just the Mod Pods. And also, I would like to bring up that there was a meeting on Thursday with the board, some board, I don't remember which one, but and Shabazz was literally the least wanted by the entire all the people there who have lived experience of being homeless. That was the one that not a single soul voted on. So hearing that it was put at the top of the list is pretty insane. And I just want to say that You guys can lie to the people who don't truly pay attention, but you will never be able to lie to the people on the front lines and those on the streets. I will always remember that a city official said that I was a dangerous drug addict wallowing in my own excrement, and that was a statement made about everyone living in Dietrich Park. You can't hide. You need to take these things seriously. People are dying on the streets, and you have a way to help them. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Aliza Ghaffari, followed by William Lawrence.
Hi, my name is Eliza Ghaffari, and I live in the East Side floodplain. Over the last 2 years, I've met and become friends with many people who have been displaced by our city and nation's ongoing crisis in affordable housing. Over the past 8 months, I opened my home up as an informal drop-in center to help unhoused friends with supplies, meals, bathroom facilities, and emotional support. I provided numerous people with temporary emergency shelter when they had nowhere else to go. The unhoused community is diverse and resilient and includes many wonderful people I consider dear friends and even family, people who are fighting for their right to exist and survive. We all deserve to be treated with dignity and afforded the basic right to shelter. I affirm that the Mod Pods are necessary, but that they should be placed and managed with the meaningful participation of currently unhoused people and those with lived experience. The city should also not forget that determining the location for 50 tiny houses will not solve the enormity of the housing crisis our community faces. We must stop criminalizing the unhoused and seek radical solutions that address the root causes of homelessness, trauma, mental illness, and addiction. These are community problems, and they require deep love and community care to form their solutions. I also think attention needs to be paid to the issue of red tagging, which Kat brought up. Next door to my house, there are 3 vacant and red-tagged houses, all of which are owned by people who live in faraway cities. How many houses are empty right now while so many people are being forced to sleep outside? The city threatened to red tag my house for choosing to help some of those people. How can we work with property owners to restore these red tag houses and land contract them out to people affordably, or to allow the properties to be turned with state funding into transitional or supported housing with programs designed to help people break the cycle of homelessness? In addition to the Mod Pods and the red tags, I am also advocating for transparency and humane treatment from the city attorney's office in the Dietrich Park case. The Dietrich Park encampment should not be vacated during the winter. Our friends at Dietrich Park are already dealing with the brutal temperatures of the cold Michigan winter. They must be allowed to shelter in place until housing alternatives are provided. I witnessed the police chasing out friendly unhoused campers from their sites along the river throughout the summer and fall, making it more difficult for them to be geared up and prepared for outdoor living going into the winter. Now that we are headed into the dead of the winter, please act with compassion, and not just in the instance of Dietrich, but any and all encampments. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is William Lawrence, followed by Mike Gorashek.
Hi, William Lawrence, 4th Ward. I'm feeling a sense of desperation over the situation of our unhoused and underhoused residents in this cold winter. I'm feeling so desperate that the only language I could find today was the language of prayer, even though that's a little uncommon for me. So I'd like to say I pray for our unhoused neighbors who are taking care of each other, for everyone working to have each other's backs, and for the isolated people out there who haven't found a community, wondering if anyone is going to miss them if they freeze. I pray that our city will continue down the path of establishing the Mod Pod community, while finding the courage to open up the doors of the process and genuinely share power with currently and formerly unhoused community members to make decisions over how the pod community will be implemented and governed. The situation right now is that neighborhood opponents have been activated against the project, while the potential allies have not been fully mobilized in support of the project. And the people in need will offer full-throated support, but you're hearing them say they will only do that if they really believe they're being given the power to shape the outcome and the follow-through on the project, rather than just as window dressing. And I pray this project succeeds so that it can help those who need help, and it can help, but I pray it's never used as a Band-Aid to rhetorically slap over all the other ways and all the other people that it cannot help, because we know there's so much more needed. I want to pray for creativity from the government and from the public to find ways to help people this winter, such as by officially or unofficially sanctioning, allowing an unsanctioned encampment, or by requisitioning our many unused residential and commercial properties to bring people out of the cold now, because it's cold. And barring all that, I pray for the wisdom of non-intervention, which is that when there is no effective help to be offered, people should be left alone. And this is what should happen at Dietrich Park and the other encampments around the city. Leave people alone if you cannot genuinely help them now. Lawyers and police officers, stand down. There are worse things in this world than legal liability for a public health hazard on a public property. There is the spiritual damage that may come from your sustained efforts to displace people with nowhere else to go. And I pray that none of us become so numb to the suffering around us or evade our own personal responsibility to be part of this solution, even when it challenges our prior assumptions or our narrow perceptions of our own self-interest. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mike Gorshak, followed by Ted Wilson.
Thank you, council members, for your support for the Mod Pod initiative. They are necessary and needed as soon as possible to help with our current housing crisis. With the New Hope Center closing early next year and the other state budget cuts the mayor mentioned, we will struggle to meet the growing number of people battling housing uncertainty and homelessness, even with the pods. I encourage council members to ensure that the project continues and that it meaningfully includes current unhoused people and those with lived experience in the project's implementation. But for the unhoused community at Dietrich Park, I understand that the city attorney and the private property owner for JAJ Properties are close to coming to a settlement on their conflict over the property. The details for the settlement are not public at this time. I hope that the city attorney will aid the residents and organizations that assist them by providing details and time so that we can plan. This needs to be handled differently than the last agreement between the city and a property owner, where a third of the camp was bulldozed without meaningful notice, while a large number of residents were at a hearing for the court case. I want to be clear, the last time the residents of the camp were not informed of the specifics of the agreement, and their camp was marked off and bulldozed starting the same day while residents were at court. Residents lost belongings and had to scramble for shelter with volunteers and camp residents working together to salvage what we could. Service providers like PATH and shelters like the City Rescue Mission and the New Hope Center were not informed of the activity to support residents. We had to contact Shelby Frere at New Hope, and she came with her staff to ensure that folks who needed beds received them after the bulldozing of the residences. One of the camp residents had a stress-induced seizure. Police at the site treated the resident, and an ambulance was sent to aid in the treatment. One camp resident who was away undergoing cancer treatment had their residence bulldozed. They struggled with the stress of the situation and to reestablish a residence. They passed on from the cancer within a month of the residence being bulldozed. This cannot be allowed to happen again. If there is a forced removal of the residence, it must at the very least include due notice to ensure residents' safety. The residents of the camp have cooperated in this process. They have been told that they could lawfully reside on the property while the lawsuit continued. Residents worked with agencies to apply for housing vouchers, but as of today, I'm only aware of one resident having received a voucher. They're on a wait list, so we can do better, but at least please don't forcibly remove folks in the winter. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Ted Wilson, followed by Carver.
I'd like to thank the council and the mayor's office for taking the time to listen about these important issues. I'd like to also offer a little bit of pushback. If the taxpayers who are paying for this program are not to be listened to, that doesn't sound like a very equitable situation indeed for any of us. Regarding the plan to install the mod pods to house the homeless, I'd like to bring up the following points. We welcome the city announcing last week that they have heard the outcry from the residents regarding the placement of the Nova Housing Initiative mod pods. However, the language used by the city that they share our sentiment does not go far enough to satisfy the residents of this city. In speaking with the citizens of the proposed neighborhoods for placement of the Mod Pods, there continues to be tremendous frustration on the HRCS's process thus far. Program cost, how it will impact the city budget going forward, and program accountability to not only the unhoused, but the residents of the city are all at the top of the list. To that end, we are disappointed to see that the Nova Housing budget presentation is not on the Ways and Means Committee meeting agenda for this Wednesday, as was expected. We would love to hear an update to when that will happen. As we have not seen the definitive language to protect our parks in the neighborhoods affected by the 5 proposed sites, we will continue to fly our houses, organize, field phone calls and emails, and speak to neighborhood leaders and other community boards to plan out our continued opposition to this plan as it stands now. Again, we want the Mod Pods in Lansing. We want Lansing to succeed where Kalamazoo failed. As an East Sider, I agree with many of my neighbors and say, put the Mod Pods on the East Side, but use any one of the empty city-owned or commercial properties that sit vacant and not any of our parks. I was just suggested the empty parking lot that is for sale between the Larch and Cedar that the city wants to sell, as there is certainly more community buy-in for the Mod Pods to be placed there instead of a data center. We look forward to the upcoming Nova site placement meeting this Thursday at the Alfreda Community Center from 5:30 to 7 p.m. on Thursday, and encourage all citizens who desire the success of this program to make their voices heard at public comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Carver, followed by Darren.
I don't have anything prepared. I'm just begging for like an eviction moratorium, not just for the unhoused, but also for everyone in the winter. It's fucking cold out there. Did any of you actually pretend you have nowhere to go last week when I asked? Suffer in the cold for even 20 minutes? It's devastating. Like, I've been super lucky. Not everyone is. I'm also really tired of Joey Washington coming up here and telling you it's not your job to do your jobs. 3 minutes of that every week, and then drop the corporate thing last hour ago.
Can we keep your comments to council, please?
Oy, it's relevant to council. She keeps telling you not to do your jobs.
Okay, you got to keep your comments faced to us, please.
I very much support the parking lot across from Wendy's between Larch and Cedar. Nobody in this state wants a data center. People are worried about the property values and bills. Data centers lower your property values and raise your bills, especially your electricity bill. We could do something more useful with that would actually set a much better example for every human being in the future. And I'm gonna just go.
Thank you. Next is Darren, followed by Jennifer Robertson.
I'm looking at Mayor Shore, a coward and a bully who torments the most vulnerable people of Lansing in order to feel powerful. He is a monster who would kill us all for his own personal gratification. And at Attorney Venker, a cardboard personality with a vindictive streak. At Attorney Staples, who is not here, a master manipulator who is using deceit to execute Shore and Venker's cruelty. But far worse, I'm looking at council. All this talk about noise ordinances, but you have proudly remained silent, apathetic, and complacent in the face of a grave injustice. It is absurd to learn from Councilman Cost that you don't actually know what the city government is doing about the unhoused population, and you find out on social media from Kelsey Hector and Khadijah Erickson, people not even employed by the city government, when you are the city government. I'm not a person who believes in grudges nor revenge. I value transparency, accountability, restitution, and rehabilitation. Todd and Darcy still grieve the loss of their brother Robert, whom you had murdered, Mayor Shore. Judge Aquilina so compassionately promised permanent housing to the tenants of the Dietrich encampment, complete with resources to ensure that housing is successful. This had every potential to be a landmark case, improving the way that we treat our neighbors. Instead, it has become nothing more than political theater, failing the people the court order was supposed to help. They need permanent housing. The city of Lansing is escaping accountability for their abuse of our unhoused. The tenants of this encampment have been denied a voice and legal due process in these proceedings. They are now uncertain as to what is to happen to them, only that they will be displaced for Christmas. Happy holidays. A wintertime camp sweep will kill people. The people of Lansing deserve transparency and accountability from our government. Will you, the council, show the people of Lansing that you stand for justice, or will you allow backroom deals to destabilize the lives of vulnerable populations in Lansing? Which side are you on? I would also state that I am fully in support of seeing these mod pods be successful. I am not interested in which neighborhood or location. I just want to see them succeed the first time. And lastly, I would like to thank Khadijah Erickson. She does not receive enough credit for everything she does for the people of Lansing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jennifer Robertson, followed by Nadia Sellers.
Again, my name is Jennifer Robertson, part of the homeless community. I've been there since the beginning of April, and I have medical issues that I'm worried about being out there in the freezing cold, as I have been. I'm falling on the ice that doesn't get taken care of by the city or anybody else that cares about anybody. I'm just hoping that these mod pods will actually do something for people so that we can still continue to live instead of being treated like animals. That's pretty much all that I have to say at this point, unfortunately.
Thank you. Next is Nadia Sellers, followed by Chantel Spears.
Nadia Sellers, Honey Bear Project. Drive by. Every Lansing resident should remember those words. Those were the words said to Angela Washington when she asked about the monthly charges for her red-tagged home. Angela Washington is 72 years old, being charged monthly for what should be a safety check, according to code compliance. But the officer said he does a drive-by. Didn't someone just die in a red-tag home? I wonder if that was because they did a drive-by. You guys sit up there and you make decisions on whose home you're going to take? How dare you? We might live in a MAGA-driven society, but aren't we a country of compassion? When a city doesn't take care of their seniors, they fail their entire community. This city should follow some of the programs implemented in the city of Grand Rapids, geared towards helping seniors navigate the city's complex systems and ordinances, like code compliance, which really should be compassion compliance. People like Angela Washington, they're longtime residents of Lansing. They're taxpayers. They're humans who, because they need your help, you take advantage of them, and instead of helping them keep their home and bring it up to code, you send monthly invoices. You put liens on the property and throw it into a land bank. If you guys are lucky enough to live long enough, as long as Angela, you'll become senior citizens too. And you're going to need the help of people up there like you guys. Taxpayers, they trusted you to handle the city's business, not to massage your egos or to put your personal views on everyone else. Mr. Mayor, you just got reelected. If you don't take care of your seniors in this community, you're failing your entire community. And for you to sit up there and vote no on sending police officers out for every noise you hear, you know that's going to target young Black African-American men. They're targeted enough. You can do better. But African-American men, especially in this community and in the community of East Lansing, they got targets on their backs. You can do better. And I'm sorry to see that some of you up there, you're making decisions on other people's lives. And I don't think that's right. You're making the decisions on the people's lives who elected you. I hope you do better.
Thank you. Next, we have Chantel Spears, followed by Jalen Wooster.
All right, I'm Chantel Spears, and I'm here from Lansing. I experienced homelessness for 4 years, so I want to talk about two things. The first is the Dietrich Park situation. So I'm really going to encourage you folks to not let them sweep away that camp, even though an agreement that we don't know about has been made. They deserve time to find alternative housing. I mean, ideally, that would be permanent housing, something real, not something transitory. But either way, they need at least some notice. They're out there for good reason. Like, if our shelters were adequate, if they were really a good solution, then no one would choose to be outside. So that should tell you how terrible our shelters are. They don't accommodate medical disorders. They have a lot of people out there with disabilities. They're not a good place for pets and partners. So if you have any sort of family, a lot of us, our pets are the only thing that we have. So that's why they're out there. And who wants to get rid of their pet just because they lost everything they have? That's a bunch of crap. The other thing I want to talk about are the Mod Pods. So I got together, I'm part of the homelessness union, and we all agreed that the ideal locations would be Hunter Park, Stabeno Park, or we would be open to that data center parking lot that's for sale that the city of Lansing wants to sell to the data center. Don't sell it, give it to the Mod Pods. I'd really encourage you to not listen to these people telling you anywhere but the park. They're coming up here pretending that they don't have NIMBY attitudes, that they would be happy to embrace the homeless population, but that's not true. They're just as prejudicial and hateful as everyone else. They're just disguising it. They're probably not aware of it because hating the homeless population is acceptable in our society, so people don't recognize it for the prejudice that it is, but it's the same prejudice that underlies racism towards the black community, the same prejudice that underlies misogyny and just hate towards any social category. So I would encourage you not to listen to those hateful voices. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Talon Wooster, followed by Selke.
Good evening. My name is Talon Richard Wooster. I'm a resident of Dietrich Park, also a member of the Rent is Too High movement. I've been a resident in Dietrich Park since April, not by choice. Different things happen. You have a bad landlord, and all of a sudden you have a parasitic thing that takes everything that you own, including your job and the place that you live, and you have nowhere else to go. You have to go somewhere. Your options are limited, and you're lucky enough to have somewhere where at least you have a number of people looking after you, people going through your same exact situation, or at least something similar. You can't find anywhere to live. There is nowhere to live, and it's impossible for you to get a job when you don't have an address. It doesn't help you. When it comes to the pods, yeah, it's all fine and dandy, but you guys scooping us out of the park right there, right now, that's not gonna help anybody. That's gonna lead to a lot of problems. A lot of problems. I can't go to a shelter right now because I'm not currently married to my fiance. My fiance has MS. She would have to separate from me to a women's shelter, and then I'd probably never see her again because we don't have phones. She would wander off and get lost, and that would kind of be that. I love my wife, my future wife. You can't do that to me. That being said, I think we need to have a little more constructive thinking about this instead of just clearing everybody out of there. I know this isn't the easiest thing to think about, But maybe, just maybe, we could think smarter, not harder.
Thank you. Next is Selke, followed by Frederick McLaughlin.
So, the first hearing for Dietrich Camp was, August, mid-August? The second hearing was on September 17th. And as another one of our tenant union members has said, that was simultaneously a court hearing and a bulldozing. And our people lost their belongings. One of our members, resident of the camp, had a seizure due to the stress while her husband was at the courthouse in the courtroom. So there's been a lot of awful shit happening. It's really inhumane that we're even at this point. While both the city's attorneys and the judge told people at the camp to have trust in this process and that housing resources would be created. We saw the city attorney misrepresenting the housing resources that exist, the amount of beds that are available, and the amount that they actually showed up with the resources that they were court-ordered to provide. Right now, we know this backroom deal is going to be going through, and the mayor and council, and especially the city attorney's office, who has been representing the city in this case, need to make sure that regardless of what that deal is, the 90-day extension that the judge gave on November 12th maintains. That means that we don't evict people, even if housing resources, a hotel voucher, what have it, is offered to the residents of the camp, that they are not displaced violently, because there's no unviolent way to displace a camp. You need to make sure that they are moved, those who want it, moved into whatever housing resources are made available, and they're given time to do it. Shit's frozen to the ground. You can't expect people who have already lost their belongings time and time and time again and have had to start over from scratch with nothing, who are finally being helped to get just homeless IDs. So many still don't have the IDs that they need, and they've hit walls in funding as we continue to see the administration at all levels, national and statewide, cut funding for our people who need homes incredibly bad. That's the only way you solve this problem. It's housing. That's what unhoused people need, is housing. And so we need to continue to fund it. And like others, when it comes to where these mod pods come and knowing that these are just a first step towards transitioning people into long-term housing, that data center parking lot is the one in which you do not see your community divided, and instead coming together to find a solution together. People do deserve transitional housing, not as much as they deserve long-term permanent housing and dignified housing at that. Yes, we need to repair these red tags. Yes, we need to take vacant properties and make them accessible to people. It's inhumane and inconceivable that we profit off of a human right and necessity. So don't sweep this camp. Move those mod pods to that data center parking lot so that you don't have to pave a brand new parking lot, and find more solutions long term.
Thank you. Next, we have Frederick McLaughlin, followed by Nicholas Zandy.
So if I'll try to not keep my mind on my my bus that I was going to try to catch. I want to speak a little bit about growth in this community. There seems to be an obsession with growth, and what seems to be mistaken is that the real focus needs to be on prosperity. It's not the same thing as growth. And another thing that needs to be brought to your attention is that there needs to be a lot of interest amongst all of you in where the wealth within the community is going to come from to cover the growth that we're constantly pursuing. The growth that we pursue is it's a sprawling kind of growth, and we can't afford to keep it up. We can't afford to keep trying to grow because it simply adds to our liabilities, and we've got to have some way to pay for that liability. And the only way we can do it is to have greater density, and also have it a density of properly thought out smaller homes, get rid of a lot of zoning requirements, like parking requirements. I've been very disappointed that we have a form-based zoning or planning document. In any case, and in that regard, relative to the planning department, we need to, if we're going to have a name on the planning department, instead of economic development, it needs to be community development. Economic development, frankly, is a much more limited target. I'd like to say a couple things again about also about the Mod Pods, as another has said, or actually others have said. Your client in this situation, I use that word because I'm an architect, so I get used to using that fancy word, but the people you're working for here, those are the people you need to be talking with first. I'm pretty surprised that you've actually purchased, or maybe you haven't purchased yet, the Mod Pods. But it's really the cart before the horse. You need to find out what it is that the people who need the housing are looking for. I'm disappointed that I can't let someone use my vacant lot in Lansing. As I understand it, maybe I'm misunderstanding the ordinance, but I don't think that I am allowed to let someone sleep, even if it's a friend of mine who is homeless, on that lot. And I actually have some friends I'd like to let do that, but I guess it's not allowed. So, thank you.
Thank you. And our final speaker of the year is Nicholas Zandy.
Final speaker of the year, huh? Let's go out with a bang, I guess. Well, I wish I could say that, but I'm gonna be here to speak, surprisingly, not about the Mod Pods, but about the debacle surrounding the now out of office fire chief. Dare I even mention his name, which I probably won't, because I don't think he deserves it. But I'll try to be as calm as possible, considering that this is a very touchy subject. And I'll try to not run my mouth too much so that I accidentally espouse a few bombs or two, just to say the least. Having said that, what the fire chief did to one of their employees, which I don't know if I can mention what they did, but let's just say it was very inappropriate and absolutely unbecoming for a leader like that, especially someone who is in a position of power appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the council. And it is very clear that going forward that the city needs to vet any future appointments, whether it's from the council or from the mayor. They need to be vetted before they even consider appointment or confirmation. And we shouldn't just vote on something and move on in the case of appointments. We need to consider a question. Has this person said or done anything potentially problematic or incriminating? And if so, should we proceed with their appointment? Because we really need to be asking these tough questions, especially when it comes to appointments. And I think that we need to thoroughly investigate each department at the very least to check if there was anything that the council or the clerk or anyone may have missed, or the mayor, since they're the person in charge, again, may have missed when it was whether it was checking records or checking through anything just to see if there was anything problematic that happened, like the incident that just happened at the fire department. And if we want people like firefighters and police officers to be protecting people, we should not let people who have done or said things very wrong and problematic to be appointed in the first place. I'm glad for the person who spoke out. It's sad that this happened, and it should never have happened, and I hope that if going forward we actually ask these tough questions about people who we do appoint, just to ensure that situations like this doesn't happen again. And that's all I'm going to say, and I'll yield the rest of my time and the rest of your, I guess.
Thank you. That was our final speaker.
And with that, we close out 2025 at 9:33.